Hey guys, Coach Walford here. So this week we are going to continue with our dribbling. So last week you got to see what we actually do in class. I did that lesson with K through 3, but 4th and 5th grade will also do that later on in the year when we're not doing archery. So everything that we do, you can adjust it to whatever skill level you are at. So like with the kindergarten, 1st, 2nd grade, we were working on dribbling, and you can kind of do a little bit different things with them. It doesn't have to necessarily be as intense if you were 3rd through 5th grade. So just keep that in mind when you're doing all of these different skills and activities, that some of it might be a little bit more geared towards the kindergarten side and some might be geared towards 5th grade. So if you need help with that, just let me know. But I'm going to try to kind of go over this and I'll explain to you what we're doing in just a moment. So we are, like I said, continuing with the dribbling. So last week we started with dribbling. This week we're going to continue with it. Dribbling is one of the key foundations for basketball. If you can't dribble, pass, or shoot, basketball is not really going to be that much fun. To be able to get the ball up and down the court, you have to be able to dribble, okay, at least somewhat. There's only really 2 ways to get the ball down the court, and that is dribbling and passing, and we're going to work on passing next week. So I kind of want to go back over how to dribble. So I'm going to get one of these basketballs. This is actually one of our smaller basketballs that I use with the younger grades. However, it really doesn't matter what size ball you use, but the little ones, you might want to use something smaller, like a volleyball that is smaller, soccer ball. Any type of ball will work for this, really. Just trying to practice with our dribbling. It doesn't have to necessarily be a basketball. As long as you have like a smooth surface and then a ball, you can practice with it. So the 2 main key things when you're dribbling is we dribble with our fingertips, okay, not our palms, because if you dribble with your palms, okay, you have really no control of the ball. And the whole point of this is to have control, because when you're dribbling up and down the court, you have to control the ball. Wherever the ball goes is where you pushed it. Okay, it's not just, it doesn't have a mind of its own to kind of go over, because I know some people are like, I can't control it. Well, that's because you're pushing it that way. Okay, so it's fingertips. Make sure your fingertips. And the more comfortable you get with this, you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. The second thing is, a really, really important part, is you want to keep the ball low, because when you're actually playing in a basketball game, you do not want the ball way up here, because the defender is going to come take it from you every time. So make sure you're keeping the ball low. I usually tell the kids right here at your hip or lower, okay? And it's usually slightly to the side a little bit. Right now, it doesn't really matter about that. I'm trying to just make sure we understand we're using our fingertips and we're keeping it low from our hip down, okay? The next thing would be for maybe the older grades, okay, so 3rd through 5th grade, would be make sure you're bending your knees, staying low, okay, when you're dribbling the ball, because you got to be able to move quickly, okay? It's not one of these things where you're kind of stiff, just kind of walking around, okay? It has to be you're low, moving, okay, ready to move and pass the ball or whatever you might be doing with it. So, so that would be the next step with the 3rd through 5th grade. Make sure you're staying low, bending your knees, on your toes, ready to move, okay? All right, so fingertips, keeping it low. That's the 2 main things today. So a couple of different things we can do. I have my cones back out here just to kind of review what we did last week, kind of going through the cones. One good thing that you can do is you can use one hand. If you just feel comfortable using one hand going through, if you start getting more comfortable, you can actually use your left hand or your non-dominant hand and start going through. And then the more comfortable you get is actually switching, so going back and forth. So when you're dribbling, you're actually going through the cones like that. And that's for when you start getting a little bit more comfortable with the ball. You're keeping it low, making sure you're using your fingertips and controlling the ball correctly. The last big thing when it comes to dribbling is you have to know where you're going. So it's not just fingertips, keeping it low, bending your knees, on your toes. You also have to have your head up. Because if you don't know where you're going, you're going to either run into someone's going to come take the ball from you. Because you got to remember, as a defender, you don't have the ball. So all you're doing is you're watching the person with the ball. Okay? So you know where the ball is at all times. But if you have your head down and you're trying to dribble to the goal or wherever, okay, you're not going to have any idea where you're going. So that would be the last big step, is to start getting your head up. But right now, for purposes, as long as we are trying to dribble with our fingertips and we are trying to keep the ball low, that is the main thing. All right, so the next couple drills that I have, these are really good for our ball handling. And once you start getting used to these, I would say for the most part, this would be used for 3rd through 5th grade. But K through 2, if you can do this, that's awesome. These are where we use 2 different balls, and I've done these when I've coached basketball, and it really helps with the control of the ball using both hands. And you can finally start seeing which hand you're more dominant with, and it does get kind of hard after a while, and everyone messes up, and that's okay. So the first one is going to be simultaneous, okay? So that big word just means the same time. So I'm going to dribble both the balls at the same time, okay? And I'm going to practice making sure I keep it low, I'm bending my knees, and my head is up. So I'm going to start first looking down at the ground, and then I'll slowly start to move my head up. So it's at the same time, and then looking up, okay? Just like this. You can kind of see you have to push the ball hard to the ground, okay, when you are doing these drills, all right? So just like that. I would say do that for a minute, take a break, do it again. Okay, there are lots of different ways you can do these drills. I'm just going to show you 3 different ways today, but the more creative you get with it, the better your ball handling skills are going to be, okay? So that's simultaneous at the same time. The next one's a little bit harder, it's alternating. What tends to happen here is when you're dribbling, okay, I'm right-handed, so the green ball, typically I'll be fine with this one, but it'll be my left hand with the yellow ball that I notice I don't push as hard. Okay, so this one's alternating, so you actually go down, up, okay? So what I'll do, and this is what I'll tell you guys to do, start with simultaneous, so start at the same time, and then start alternating them, okay? So it's down like this, and then you start going like this, okay? And head up once you get comfortable. And then you'll start going back to simultaneous, and then you gotta make sure you're putting your balls back alternating, okay? It makes you really think about how you're dribbling, how much pressure you're putting on the ball, and that really comes into play the older you get and the more you start playing basketball and actually moving the ball down the court, okay? So the next one, this one's kind of hard, okay? So this one would be for the upper grades for sure. This one's called 3 and across, okay? So what you're gonna do with this one is you're actually gonna dribble the ball 3 times, so you go dribble, 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 and then you cross them, okay? And you gotta try to catch them with your other hands. This one is a little bit more difficult, and when you're doing this, if you do have to put your head down at first, that's fine, because once again, it's all about the ball control. We're trying to keep it low, making sure we're using our fingertips, but also we have to learn that we have to figure out where the ball is without looking at it, okay? So this one is 3 and across, so it's down, and it's gonna be 1, 2, 3, and then cross them, okay? And you see how hard it is. It is very difficult. You have to get used to it. So it's 1, 2, 3, just like that, 1, 2, 3, just like that, 1, 2, 3, and you're just crossing them, okay? And it is harder because the more comfortable you get with it, you'll be actually able to start looking up, okay? And trying to make sure you know exactly where the ball is at all times. There's ones you can do behind the back. It gets really fancy after a while. So if you want to do something like that, that's perfectly fine. You can look those videos up. There's tons of them online. But those are the ones that I really kind of wanted you guys to work on with your dribbling. So find 2, make sure whenever the balls are, they're 2 of the same weight. So these 2 are basketballs, so I don't recommend using a basketball and a soccer ball because they're different weight. And you have to push them, and it's a lot you have to think about. So try to get 2 of the same balls if you can. And if you can only get 1 ball, that's fine, okay? Still, I want you to work on dribbling in a line, dribbling through cones. Remember, you can make cones up with anything. It can be cups, it can be sticks, it can be whatever it is, as long as you have like a little pattern and you're working on your dribbling, okay? Trying to keep it low, using your fingertips, making sure after a while we start getting low as well, and then we're looking up, okay? So we're low, we're looking up, trying to get where we're trying to get to, okay? So, once again, make sure you're being safe and healthy when you're doing this. Make sure you're out in an open area. Do not be doing this in the house. I hope you guys have a fantastic week. Like I said, next week we'll start with our passing, and I will see you guys later. Have a good one.